often again starts with this level of gratitude, like, thank you for supporting me and being with me. And also, I'm so angry right now, or
Right.
whatever. Like,
Thank you, but.
yeah. I really appreciate you, but also this is not okay.
No, this is so hard. Please help me.
Welcome to the Angelic Frequency Podcast. We are your hosts, Cristina Aroche.
I'm Luisa Velez, and today we had a great conversation about what we feel is angelic communication part 2. We just had to keep sharing more insights and things that came through about how to do that little activation with your angels and get them to work. So let's dive in.
We're back for another recording. What did we say we were going to talk about today? No, I'm just kidding.
We're talking activation, angelic activation. That's kind of what we're going for today. And I just had this question about, I don't remember how it came up again, but like if we don't ask for help, we don't get it. Like how do we need to, first of all, activate the guardian angels? I mean, I guess it's very useful to be intentional in your connection, but what happens if we don't?
Yeah, like if we don't ask them or ask them for help or ask for support or whatever, right? Like that kind of a thing. That's a great question because on one hand, it's not like they're just going to be like, well, you didn't ask, so I'm going to let you fall off the cliff or like, whatever. Like,
Sorry.
yeah, I feel like it's almost like I see it as these levels in a way where, for example, the first level is the level where you don't have to ask and where there's this innate support based on your soul's journey and timeline. So I believe that when souls incarnate, it's already preset, kind of in certain aspects, what your journey is going to be like, depending on what choices you make and this and that. And then also when your time is done on Earth, I feel like that is pretty much kind of almost laid out. And so I do feel like guardian angels have a level of, well, we need to keep this person protected so that they don't die before their time because they need to fulfill something, so they have that role of supporting you. And I'm sure that many people have had experiences where it was like, oh my gosh, like I was protected like from that horrible incident or whatever from happening, kind of a thing. So I do feel like there's a level of that, but then the question comes in, well, why do other people do go through horrible things like that? And they do go, you know what I mean? So there is that distinction of like why some people, and other people got into that car accident or whatever terrible thing that might have happened. And to me, I feel like for whatever reason, that means that soul's journey was meant to, it was meant to be, how it was meant to end, and that's something that we can't control. Also, I feel like something that we don't necessarily get to understand. So because we don't always get to really fully understand the big picture, right? There's so much, I think, that in our human experience, we don't fully get until we're on the other side. And then we're like, oh, okay, that makes sense why the journey unfolded that way or whatever. I think overall, though, it's knowing that your angels are always going to step in when it comes to that, making sure that you're continuing on your path and what your soul, it's almost like these, I feel like, I don't know, check boxes or something that your soul is here to accomplish. And so your guardian angels are going to make sure. But then then that's kind of the base level. But then if you look at different other levels, in the sense of, okay, well, if I do start calling on my angels or activating their presence or activating their guidance or their support or whatever, I feel like that then in a way helps to fine tune in a way your journey so that it's more intentional. And now you walking a path that's more aligned with your potential in a way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense now that you mention it, and just more aligned, easier flowing. I can see it how when I'm disconnected and I don't talk to them or I don't meditate or I don't do certain things, you kind of get lost in the density of the day to day. But when you do take a moment to meditate and connect, I think it's a matter of, it's just the veil, right? It gets thinner and you can see things make sense and you don't suffer so much. And there's not so much of an emotional connection to certain things or certain outcomes, because you're like, oh, it's just part of you don't take life personal, if that makes sense,
Right.
in the best possible way, because then you're like, oh, the path is unfolding in this way. This is not happening to me. This is happening for me, and just helps you stay curious about where are we going next. I don't, but don't suffer and worry about things so deeply, because you see the game. You see,
Yes.
so it's not so serious anyway. However, going back to angelic activation, what are some of the ways in which we talked about angelic communication recently, in which we can activate our angels or call on them? I know for myself, I can see little formulas before meditation became part of my routine. I'm not so good, I'm sorry, at doing this all the time.
None of us are. It's all good.
But little ways in which we create that connection, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Just a little prayer, a little hello, a little acknowledgement. I remember for myself, living in Bogota, like protection was a big thing. And so just calling on Michael all the time. Like if I felt scared walking down the street, in a lonely street, whatever, and I was like, Michael, come here, make me invisible. And just walking and making my way like that. So simple little things.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. And I love that's actually like the perfect example because you could have just been walking on the street and not calling on the angels, and they probably most likely, like, if God forbid something bad were to happen, they would probably step in anyways. But
Right.
it's like you having that intentional and almost like doing that beforehand avoided any sort of potential confrontation in the first place. You know what I mean? Like that sort of a thing where you just, in a way, to me, it's kind of like you elevated your experience and took it to that next level. And that's why I was talking about it as levels. It
Mm-hmm.
could have been, this type of experience. The guardian angels would have come in and supported you, but then you took it to another level where it was like, I'm going to be more intentional about this and call on Archangel Michael and ask for this type of support so that I don't have to go through
Yeah.
whatever potential experience. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, it feels like a really great example to demonstrate that of how what the difference is when we don't call on them versus we
Mm-hmm.
do. And
Mm-hmm.
then also what you said is so true about how our perspective shifts and changes when we're calling on them. And I believe that it's because when we're calling on the angels, their
Mm-hmm.
frequency is coming in. Like they have a certain frequency, they have this elevated perspective. And so that is influencing our energy. So if we're calling on the angels, it's influencing our energy. We're now all of a sudden seeing things from a higher perspective too, you know? So it's one of those things where I do feel like as we it's almost like who are you hanging out with and how is that influencing your energy, right? Like what's that saying? You're like the combination of the five people
People you're
closest to
with, yeah.
people you're with or whatever. So it's kind of like, well, I'm gonna call on the angels so that they can influence my energy and kind of support that process. But it is interesting, I feel like, because there's also a level of empowerment and self responsibility that is important because, for example, then I see this sometimes. I especially saw this at the beginning when I first started this journey, but it's this thing of, well, I'm just gonna ask the angels to bring me this, like, like angels bring me abundance or bring me this or help me
Right.
blah 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 or whatever. But and then it's kind of like then there's this level of, well, I'm just gonna sit here and wait for abundance to come, or you know what I mean. But it's kind of like we have to take responsibility for what you're wanting to create in your life, and it's not the angel's job to be little like I don't know, like servants or whatever to
Yeah.
bring this to you, because that's not their job and that's not how they work. So it's not something where it's just like, angels, please bring me this thing. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
more of a help me to become the version of myself that is aligned with the abundance that I desire type of
Right.
a thing. So we have to take self responsibility too, in that sense, when we're working with the angels in that way.
Right. It's really important. Yes. The what questions or what things should I be asking for and how? I can totally see that. And two things came up for me while you were saying that. A, help me help you. I could see that just like, help me, I'm trying. But if you don't take a step back, the bus is gonna run you over, kind of a thing, right? So
Right.
like, please, you need to take action. And I think we've talked about this before, that God can't organize your thoughts. He's not here for that. They
Yeah.
just, you need to take action so that he can take the reins and then direct that action into what's the most positive outcome of the highest good. But you need to do something for something to happen. So I see that in them, like frustration of like standing there like, okay, I need to get out of bed and sit down and meditate, and I have a wonderful vision for you if you do, right? So then there's that. And then the second thing that came up, like little servant, when you made the little servants comment, I think there's gratitude, like the importance of
Mm.
gratitude. And then it's so easy to get caught up, because when you start doing things like that and they work, it's so fun. You're like, I need parking, let's create
Yes.
parking because I'm late, I need to park outside, and you do find the parking and you're like, yes, great, it worked. And then you go on to the rest of your day not thinking about it twice, but taking a moment to say thank you for
Yes.
the things that they do, whether you know it or not, whether you notice or not. Maybe that's a nice, significant part of the prayer connection that you have with them, is whether I noticed or not, whether it was intentional or not, thank you for all that you
Yeah.
do for me every single day. And just that's a little, acknowledgement that A, creates connection, but also gratitude is so powerful in helping us manifest
Hmm.
more things, right? So keep coming back to them, even if it's their job.
Yeah.
We all need acknowledgement and gratitude for the things that we do.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that it completely changes, like you said, like our energy too, because in gratitude, that's where we are in that, I feel like, fully receiving and fully in that appreciation, that gratitude, and that love, like all those feelings and vibrational energy that is so supportive for what, for it to become like a snowball effect in a way,
Right.
I feel like.
And the acknowledgement that we're not alone. We're
Yes.
not doing this alone. For when it's good, the gratitude for the help you're getting from the divine, and when it's going really wrong, also the
Still gratitude.
certainty that they are with you and
Yeah.
that this is redirection. This is not, you know, a negative thing that's happening just because life is horrible, but it's something that needed to happen for a certain outcome that you so needed, for
Yes.
whatever reason you needed to go through that situation.
Yeah. It comes back to that saying, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But yeah, I love this because I think this is perfect. Actually, we talked about, like you said, the communication in a previous episode, how they communicate with us. And now it feels like, how do we communicate with them? And how do we have that exchange with them? Because it matters. It goes both ways. And I think the number one thing too is, it is that acknowledgement of them there, even if you don't feel them. And I think that that's an important distinction, because I've heard from people sometimes where they're like, well, I don't really feel them there. How do I know that they're there? Or how do I know, like, are they hearing me or listening to me? Or I've even had situations where people are like, can you tell Archangel Michael this? Like, as if he's only talking to me or something. Like, can you please, like, tell the angels this thing for me? Like, whatever. And I'm like, no, like, don't
Just
give your
did.
power away to me. Like, I don't want your power. You got the power. You can do it yourself. They are listening to you. And so I think that's an important thing to just understand, is that even if you can't visualize them, like don't see their colors or don't feel their energy or whatever, if you're brand new to this and you're just like, how do I start talking to the angels? Like, I don't know. It's really that acknowledgement and the knowing, because to me it's all about that intention, and also understanding that energy is instant, it's instantaneous, and it's not bound by space or time. So as soon as I feel like, as soon as I think of Archangel Michael, as soon as you even just mention his name, I feel like, oh, like I feel his presence coming in. But you don't have to feel it in order for him to be there.
Mm-hmm.
The you knowing, you feeling that he's there is already like secondary to the existence that he has already stepped forward for you. As
Mm-hmm.
you know, we'll use Archangel Michael as the example. He seems to be coming forward today. So
He seems to be in the room. So.
hi. So to me, going back to what I was saying, it's to start your communication and to really open up to that. It is the acknowledgement. Thank you, guardian angels. Thank you, Archangel Michael. Thank you, Archangel whoever, for being with me, for supporting me on this journey. Even if I don't see you or feel you or anything, I trust and know that you're there. Thank you, thank you, thank you, you know, or whatever. But it starts with that.
We're all very happy.
Yes,
Like, yes.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, they're working really hard. I mean, what we see, what we don't see, they're working all the time, every day. That's what they exist for. So we might as well just establish the dialogue and give them their praise, because they're working really hard. And something, so yeah, little moments of prayer, little moments of gratitude, and just a dialogue. Talk to them. Like, make it part of an internal monologue, just as if you were talking to yourself. Create that habit and talk to them,
Yeah.
and just ask open-ended questions and ask for a sign, and just as you go about your day, instead of
Yes.
having that monologue be with yourself, try and intentionally shift it as if you were talking to them, and I promise you'll start seeing them come
Yeah.
through in different ways. Even if you can't see colors or feel them or whatever,
Yes.
it'll start to happen.
Well,
And
I
you'll
feel like,
know.
yeah, exactly. And I feel like that connects to what we were saying in the previous episode on
Yeah,
communication, where it's like you'll start to see the angel numbers or the feathers or
yeah, the feather, the
whatever.
bird. We got so many comments about the birds. The
I
birds
know,
are
yes.
messengers. Yeah, and they'll find the funniest ways to come through. This morning I got dressed and I had a feather in my t-shirt that was inside a drawer. That, where did it come from?
So wild. I
So
love
wild.
that so much.
And of course, there's like feathers in, I guess, pillows or something somewhere.
Yeah.
But how did it get in there? And it was folded, put in there. It didn't have the feather for sure when it went in, and
Yeah.
somehow it had it. And I happened to put it on today.
So
So
good.
so good. After I was telling you all about this earlier, that disconnection for days and days, I've been distracting myself with things. When life gets uncomfortable, we tend to do
Hmm.
this, and I think it's important to speak to this and how normal it is. But when life gets uncomfortable, we tend to numb.
Yep.
If that looks like food, but that more often than not, that looks like TV, that looks like social media, that looks like
Hmm.
many distractions that we put in front of ourselves not to feel yucky. No one wants to feel that way, right? But I received a very loud and clear indication this morning that I should reconnect. That's when we need them the most, right?
Yeah.
That's when we need to keep that communication channel open, and for them to help us move through those uncomfortable times and feelings, and leaning in as opposed to shutting everyone out. But that's funny. That's how humans are. That's
What
how
is
we
up with that? What is up with our human psychology that wants to
know.
shut everything out when we're feeling that way
When
instead
we're
of
feeling
leaning
that
into
way.
the thing we need?
I know. And it's okay. I guess it's okay to feel,
Yeah.
your feelings are valid. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to cry a little bit. Go into your room, play some sad music, and just,
Hmm.
tune into that feeling. It's okay. But getting ourselves out of it, and using them and leaning on them to move through that, I don't know who we think we're fooling or what. Like, it's only delaying
Right.
the process. Like, the longer you stay there, the harder it is to get back out. But anyway, leaning into their presence and their energy when things get tough, and leaving that communication channel open is really, really important take a minute.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be
yes
an hour-long meditation where you're just gonna, sulk your sadness.
yeah
Really,
yeah
just connect, just tune in, say hi. That's
Yeah,
all.
for me that looks like if I'm in that type of energy where I'm just like, ugh, like, and I notice myself kind of diving into TV, social media, like distraction. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to anybody, like that energy. I do find myself coming back to prayer. For me personally, prayer I feel like has been a very powerful tool where, and the prayer is more like it is acknowledgement. The first thing is thank you for being me and supporting me through this, even if I don't feel like even if I feel frustrated and sad, like thank you. I know that you're around me. Thank you for supporting me through this. Like number one thing. And then depending on the situation is either it's either I'll say, okay, I'm ready to shift out of this. So please support me with that because I'm my ego is having a great time over here. So like help me to shift out of this. Or depending on the situation, or I might say, help me see a different perspective of this, or you know, guide me into just my next step. And oftentimes it's just a very simple next step, whereas it's like go for a walk or
Right.
like do some coloring or something, like just something super simple, but that I'm just like, okay, help me to take that next move right now because I don't have that internal motivation. So I need you to help me move, kind of a thing. Like
Absolutely.
move me, nudge me. Yeah.
Help me wake up and work out. Help me
Yeah.
wake up and meditate. But yes,
But
again,
no, that's a great example, what you just said.
yeah,
Like, okay, I want to start working out. Help me to wake up earlier and be motivated to do it. Like help me to be inspired or help me to find the right workout, whatever thing,
yeah,
workout program that will suit my current capacity in my life.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like anything like that. It's okay, show me, guide me, reveal to me type of a thing.
Move me, encourage me. Yes, put me in that energy and motivate me to take that action that I need to take. That's a great ask. Paired with your own action. Again,
Yes.
you need to take a first step, and they'll help you get dressed and get on that bike. But you need to get up from bed.
Right. You have to still take the action. And I actually have a great example of this too, where I don't think I shared this on the podcast before. Maybe I shared it with you personally. I don't remember, but it was a few months ago. But it was when I was sick with the flu and my girls were sick with the
Yes.
flu. So all three of us were sick in bed, like high fevers, all that. That started on a Monday. And so that upcoming weekend, there was a conference in San Diego that I had signed up for, like a spiritual conference. There's a bunch of spiritual teachers. Marianne Williamson was one of them, and I had signed up to go to it. And, obviously going through the days, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. I'm still feeling really sick, whatever. By Thursday, I was starting to feel a little bit better. Friday was the first day of the conference starting in the evening. I
Mhm.
skipped it because I was like, this
Right.
is like going up to my bedtime. Like I'm not, I'm already just recovering from being so sick. I'm not going. I'm still coughing and super congested too, right? So I was like, I'm not going to go to this thing and just like cough on everybody. So,
Right.
but that Friday night, so then the next morning on Saturday, I think the thing started at 9 a.m. or something. So that Friday night, I said to the angels, I said, if this is for my highest good to go to this conference, then I need your help to, first of all, be motivated to go. Cause I was still feeling,
Yeah.
when you're recovering from a flu and like being so sick, you're not motivated to go. You're like, I just want to lay in bed all day. Like I still don't want to do stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, number one, I need motivation to go. Number two, I need your help to wake me up in the morning and be like well rested and actually have energy to go. And number three, I need you to help me to not be so coughing because like I was still like, when you just like have a coughing
Right.
fit,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, I can't have that. Like I don't mind if I'm still coughing, but I can't have these coughing fits. Like I need your help with this. And And I said, if I'm meant to go, then help me with that. And if I'm not meant to go, then it's okay. I'll just skip the thing. And then the next morning, I woke up before my alarm. I woke up feeling like, oh, I'm going to go. Like I was like a totally different energy than I felt that Friday night. And then I just like got dressed. Everything just felt like it flowed.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? I had to take action to do it because all they could do was set up the circumstance and be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we'll wake you up. Okay, like you're gonna feel good. But imagine if my mind was still like, nah, I'm not gonna go, like whatever. Then that's my free will. That was just like,
And you would have.
I didn't, and it was a really great experience. I met some amazing people there, made some great connections. And
Look
so,
what happened with
like,
that.
it was so cool. It was so
Yeah.
amazing. And the synchronicities. And I was just like, oh, like, that's why I was meant to go there
Now
to
we
just
know.
have these connections with people. And it just felt so good. But I was also so happy, like, so proud of myself that I actually got up and started getting ready. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that's an example, too, of how they'll, like, when we ask for that support, they'll help set the stage, but then we still have to show up and take responsibility and take the action, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We definitely have to take responsibility and do it. Now, because we call on different beings for different things. And we've talked about this in the past, but when is there a better being to call on different situations? Should we just default to our guardian angel and trust that other things are or beings are coming through? How do we discern who to call on for what?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. And I don't think there's one set answer. I feel like at the end of the day, defaulting to your guardian angels, if you don't know who to specifically call on, is always a great option because your guardian angels are going to make sure. And I do feel like they support, if let's say a different
They will call on
being,
whoever they need
they'll
to
call
call.
on them. Yeah, exactly. I do feel that. I feel like they'll bring that energy in. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's kind of like, okay, they got it taken care of. But when it comes to, who do I call in whatever situation, I feel like for one, if you're in this is the thing too, it depends on a person's level of like how comfortable they feel knowing like, oh, I feel Archangel Michael, so I'm going to call
Mhm.
on him because I feel his presence. You know what I mean? So if you have that type of connection with the angels in where you have a sense like I feel like that specific angel is here for me for whatever reason, then go with that and trust that kind of a thing. But if you're new to this and you're still exploring, you're still learning about the different types of angels and how they support us and that sort of a thing, you number one is guardian angels. But then if you do have a sense and a knowing, then you can absolutely call on specific angels for specific things. So for example, if Archangel Raphael is a great example, what people call on him when it comes to their health or when it comes to heart chakra stuff or inner child. So if that's the type of thing that you're wanting support in, and then yeah, I'm going to call on Archangel Raphael. But then
Mhm.
I always say, it's not always going to be like when I'm channeling for people and we're talking about a specific thing, it's not always necessarily going to be the angel that is like
The same.
standard, for a specific situation because for whatever reason they need this specific angel's help instead.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So that's where I feel like there's no one set answer to
Right.
that question.
And maybe that's the formula. Like whoever needs to assemble right now, the team
Yeah.
to come forward for this to happen. When you were saying that, talking about Archangel Raphael, an anecdote came to mind, and I don't think I've told you this. We were back in Colombia on holiday. It was COVID times, and so we were spending a long vacation there. And then, of course, someone started feeling I didn't felt really well. Then Elena started getting congested. She was really teeny tiny. She was a baby. My husband, anyways. So we were all kind of like, what is this? And I was so scared. Of course, I was vaccinated and everything when I was pregnant, but still, I mean, with little kids, you just don't know. And I didn't want her to get super sick or get especially being away from home, like from away from our doctors and from the hospital.
Yes.
Well, you can always take her to the doctor there, but you know what I mean. It's just you're
Yeah.
not home, you don't have your setup, and for a kid to
Yeah.
be sick is not ideal. So that night she was struggling to breathe, and that's, if anyone out there with little kids will know, if they're struggling to breathe at night is just the worst, and you
Yeah.
won't be able to sleep yourself, really just monitoring. And I was feeling awful myself. So I started meditating with Archangel Raphael and calling on Archangel Raphael through the night. I did this meditation, sending her all the, healing energy for us to, get through this, because also it was going to get in the way of all of our logistics. When you plan a trip abroad, you have two families involved, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of traveling inside the country. So this was just going to alter all of our plans, and it did. But anyways, next day, and I feel awful about this too, because the next day, Elena was totally fine. I was totally fine. My husband was sick.
You didn't
We
send healing energy, did you?
I didn't send healing energy his way. So what ended up happening, we all had COVID.
Oh, wow.
Elena and myself, we were asymptomatic. We
Okay.
didn't know we were sick. We couldn't feel it, no symptoms, nothing. We were all sick, but we were going through it in different ways. So anyway, Archangel Raphael really came through and helped me with that.
Wow.
We ended up having to isolate and do all the things, but Elena was fine.
Wow.
And
That's
she didn't even know she had
amazing.
COVID, and it was amazing. And then I feel so bad. I didn't send healing energies to my husband, who was right there, because it really. And he ended up having long COVID and tested. We couldn't come back because he
Wow.
kept testing positive for the longest time. So it was a thing. So
Yeah.
that goes to show it does work. You just call them.
Wow.
It didn't change the outcome. We had COVID.
Right.
We ended up having to alter plans and everything, but the way we went through it changed so much
Yes.
and made it such a different experience that we were able to function, and we just didn't know any different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
That
Yeah.
was, yeah, that was amazing. And I felt so guilty. I didn't say anything about it. I was like, oh gosh.
Now you can tell him years later, by the way,
By the way, I
I
didn't
never
even
sent you
heal.
energy healing. I'm so
I,
sorry.
yeah. You know that sucky COVID you had for a long time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of on me. We're not healed.
Oh my gosh, yeah, but it's amazing to see how quickly it works too, like
Yeah.
that, how it was.
Amazing.
And yeah, and even going back to what I was sharing, I honestly half expected it to work. I
Right.
honestly was like, I'm not gonna like, I am coughing my lungs out right now. Like, there's
Mhm.
no way that my coughing is gonna get significantly better the next day, but it did. I was still
Yeah.
coughing, but it wasn't this like coughing fit that was going on for minutes. It was just like a little bit of a cough. I sat as far away as I could from people, but it was something that, I was like, whoa, this worked. This is
Did
crazy.
I actually perform healing on
Yeah.
myself with the help of the angels? Yeah, totally. But again, the trusting, and again, it may not change it,
Yeah.
but it changes how you move through the situation.
That's
It
the
gives you
thing.
perspective. You remove yourself. You don't suffer as much. You go through it in such a nicer way than you would otherwise, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. And there's
Right.
levels, right? There's people who do heal and perform miracles, and you'll wake up and you won't have X. That also happens. But you can very much do that and help yourself in day-to-day situations, in little ways and in big things. But you can do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, using that same everything that we just talked about, and as kind of comparing that to something that's not health related, but just you're in a challenging situation, let's say.
Right.
And same thing, you call on them, ask for support. It's not necessarily going to make the challenging situation go away, but now the way that you are approaching it, or your perspective on it, or how you move through it, that's what changes, and that's what matters more, I feel.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. So then you understand and you know how to read life differently.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it helps a lot. Angels are the best. Yeah, I don't know. how good it would have gone through certain circumstances, having not that perspective and their support with things. And then you look back and you're like, oh, yeah, they
Yeah.
were there. They
Yeah.
were helping.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. One thing I wanted to add too to the communication part of it, we've been talking about kind of like prayer and not calling on them and asking for support and that sort of a thing. But I also wanted to just add to another way that that can be helpful sometimes for people. I know it's helpful for me is sometimes I actually like to write to them and it's like as if I'm writing them a letter. So I will say like,
Mm-hmm.
dear archangel, whatever, or if it's like a general, I'll say, dear God, angels, and all the divine beings. Like here's everybody included.
Insert whoever applies here.
Yeah. All divine beings of light and love. You are all included on this letter. And then I just share like whatever wants to come through comes through. Often again starts with this level of gratitude, like thank you for supporting me and being with me. And also, I'm so angry right now, or
Right.
whatever. Like,
Thank you, but.
yeah. I really appreciate you, but also this is not okay.
No, this is so hard. Please help me. Yeah, no, writing is such a great outlet. And then it's funny how in time, and I'm stuck at this too, I need to do it more, but when you take a moment to write before going to bed or right
Mm,
after waking up, whatever that looks like for you, after your meditation, what is coming up, what are you feeling, and also is that monologue, like don't have any expectations around it, just write whatever's on your mind. But in time that'll start to become a back and forth and a dialogue, and
yes.
you start to write out things that you're not writing, it's them writing through you. But you'll start to see those answers come up there, and then you go back and read it and you're like, yeah, that was not me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's another way to just receive some sort of message or guidance or answers or, even just knowing that you're not alone.
That you're not alone, that really helps. Also, like whatever, I mean, not talismans, but kinda like a crystal, a
Mhm.
something, a little angel, like the one you have there, but those little ones that
Yes.
they that
Yes.
there's
My little, I'll just
little
show you
angel
back on
crystals. He's
YouTube.
so big. I love him so much.
My pink angel
Your
was in
angel.
rose quartz. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so pretty. I have a teeny tiny one that's just see through. It's transparent, something, and just carrying that in your pocket, and just knowing. And I know Didi, if Didi ends up here for some reason listening to this episode, she talked about that as well, about the little
Yeah.
angels that you can carry in your pocket. But honestly, it doesn't have to be an angel related thing. Just a medal. The My Catholic upbringing, I love a good medal of a saint,
Mm.
Virgin Mary, whoever, San Benito, San Benedict,
Yeah.
which he's the one that's used to perform the exorcisms and things. So he's like a
Oh.
protection talisman
Oh,
for me.
cool.
So I carry San Benito with me, like, so just those little things. It's not about the thing. The metal doesn't have power. It's fine. It's the reminder, the constant reminder, and that
Yeah.
it's something that you're walking with, something on your neck, on your pocket, whatever, and you make the connection, the physical connection with the divine, and it's there to remind you of that being, of that divine protection, of that angelic protection. So whatever you need to use to remind you of that, it's always helpful, I think.
Yeah, that's such a great, amazing point of that physical object that is a representation of that connection, of setting that intention, of, oh yeah, I am supported, I'm guided, thank you for being with me. Like whatever. It's anything and anything and everything that we can use
Yeah,
to support us.
statues,
Yeah.
Virgin Mary statues are
Yeah.
pretty, basic, but again, it's not about that. It's just the walking past it and you're like, hello, mother, or, that little moment of connection with the divine feminine whenever
Yeah.
you walk past the Virgin Mary, anything.
Yeah.
It's that connection. Is that what you're looking for? If that looks like flowers to you, if that looks
Right.
like nature, if that looks like a plant, it doesn't really matter. It's
Yeah.
just
It's the intention and the symbolism behind that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
started talking to my plants, but more, I've
Oh,
always talked to my plants.
I love that.
Yeah. But now more so like the connection to Gaia and to like or earth or
Mhm.
that like essence of nature, and just starting to, rub their little leaves and talk to them and say little somethings. And they are so pretty.
Yes, I love
Shiny and
that.
beautiful and growing, and yeah,
They
little
feel the
things.
love. They know.
They totally feel the love. They totally connect.
Yeah, you know what I taught my daughters to do? Well, I started with my older one because when we go out on walks, they love to just see all the different plants and all the things that are growing outside of people's homes and whatever. But they really love to pick flowers, and
I
so
know.
and
How
so
do you
I
do
was like, you need to ask the plant for permission if you can pick it. I was
Oh,
like, ask the plant. And I mean, nine times out of 10, the plant says yes, according to my daughter. But sometimes she'll be like, oh no, the plant said no, I can't pick the flower. But then she'll be like, she'll like literally like go to the plant and say, can I pick your flower, please? And then she'd be like, the plant said yes. And then she like picks the flower.
I'm just like, no, take me. Oh, that's
But
so
at
great.
least, every once in a while she'll be like, oh no.
She's stopping and thinking, and she's
Yeah.
also acknowledging that that's a
Yeah.
living something that
Yes.
she's interacting with. That's great. I'm
Yeah.
awful. The Latin mother in me is inflicting guilt. So I am like, that hurts the plant. So
I've
they
said that
have to,
before.
like, they feel too. So when you pick the leaf, it hurts the plant. So we need to not do that. We don't try not to do that. So yeah, not guilt. I'm gonna just go for consent.
Yes, exactly.
I hope
Exactly.
so that, but yeah, I was just like, they're so, or like trying to give her like complex idea. Like, it's too complicated for her, but I'm like, she has a family. When you take it, like
Right.
her mommy and daddy are gonna miss her because she's not there anymore. So anyway, guilt on top of guilt. I have to stop doing. I'm realizing now
That's
as
so
I
funny.
say this that yeah, it was
Yeah.
just such a reflex reaction.
That's how we're healing the wounds of our
I
childhood.
know. I'm creating this story about the flower being separated from her family. So traumatic, so awful. So yeah, that's good. Permission, just
Yeah.
the acknowledgement that that's a living being that they need to um,
Yeah. Yeah.
interact with. But that's great. So anyway, look for the connections. They're all around you in simple things, in more complicated situations in life. But it can also be as simple as let's ground ourselves and connect to Earth, Gaia, whatever you want to call it, and just touch
Yeah.
that tree, talk to the plant
Yes.
in your
Oh my
house.
gosh. By the way, you saying this makes me feel like I need to go and ground. Like I just feel so like I want to connect with Gaia. I have not been very intentional, even though I taught my daughter to talk to the plants and say,
Yeah,
ask them for permission. But
so much
just I
better.
don't know, something about you saying that right now, I'm like, I'm gonna go outside and put my feet in the grass.
Yeah,
Connect.
you know, something that I was taught from really early on was to, or even when I see the sun just charging, like just
Mm.
like putting my hands on my hips like this, and then just closing my eyes and just literally charge with the
I
sun,
love
with the
that so
sunlight
much.
to, yeah, and feeling the warmth, feeling the rays, feeling the brightness, and just taking it all in, but thinking about it as a recharge.
Yeah, like a
So
battery, like
like a battery
fill up my battery.
recharging.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it much, especially like back home. It was always sunny, so I took it for granted. But now that I'm in
Yeah.
Canada, I miss the sun for months and months. So yeah, whenever I see the sun, I try to, go to the window, go outside, and just take it all in and recharge. And also knowing that that's God too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Nature, the sun, plants, flowers, all of it, birds, that is God speaking to you in different ways and showing up all around you. And so, whatever that connection looks like, it's fine. If you can take a moment to say thank you to the divine while you're recharging outside in the sun, even better. But I think all those little things add up and create the mental space and the silence that you need to tune into the divine too. You
Yes.
take a moment, you hug the tree, you'll hear amazing stories maybe, but you'll also just take the time to stop and
Yeah.
let the divine come in. We just don't. We have a phone in our hand, we have a laptop in front of us. We just don't make time and space for anything else to come through, and it's so hard for them to talk to us.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like what's coming up as you say this is that when we do take the moments to do what you just said, those practices, it then helps support you in being able to see the presence or even just feel the presence of the divine in just everyday life. So for example, like even when you're, let's say, interacting with your kids or your husband or your partner or coworkers or whoever else, now you're kind of seeing them from a different lens, like, oh, like we're souls here, and like this person may or may not be aware of their soul, but like
Yeah.
it kind of helps you to see things from a different perspective, or just as you're, even if you're like driving, but then you're kind of like, oh, more tuned in versus
Mhm.
in your head about overthinking or ranting to yourself or whatever. You're kind of on this different level of connection because
Mhm.
you started off with what you just described of
Yeah.
having that space and that moment to just acknowledge and feel them there and
Yeah.
just know that
And,
they're there.
and I think we've talked about this before in the podcast and how useful they are in your day to day.
Yeah.
Instead of being angry at that person, rant to your guardian angel, rant to their guardian angel. Like, how do you believe your human is like this? Why?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so just establish that connection, and talking to them constantly helps you move through life in such a different
Yeah.
way. But just giving yourself mental space to connect and listen. Otherwise, we ask for help all the time. We ask for the divine to perform the miracle, to change something, to help us with something. We don't stop to listen to their answers and what they're trying to guidance and what they're trying to tell us. So being
Yeah.
more intentional like that in everyday life, a little more quiet, a little more tuned in, that helps. Talk to them constantly. They'll find ways to talk back even if you don't, yeah, feel them, trusting that they're doing what they need to do. What else? And if you do know who they are, if you've had a session with Christina and you know what, your guardian angels are here to support you, which in my case, it made all the difference because I know who to ask for help now and how to connect those dots a little bit better. Just try and be more intentional with that connection. If you're feeling like I have an angel that's meant to help me with my writing and creative energy, give them a
Yeah.
nudge whenever you're feeling stagnant or that you need to get back in there and do that document, that whatever that looks like for you, Instagram post, and they'll come through
Yeah.
and they'll help you.
And what I feel guided to share, I feel like they're the ones who are saying this, but they're saying
Who is
you
they?
don't have to be like perfect. Like you don't have to know what to do. It feels
Mm.
like I don't know. It's not specific. I just feel like all the angels are coming in. I was like, who is it? But it just feels like
Um,
them, the angelic beings as a whole. It just feels like this overall message of, because I think sometimes people hesitate because they're like, well, I don't even know where or how to start, or like I'm not like doing the thing. But that's the whole point. If you're not doing the thing, they can help you to do the thing. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you just have to start like you were saying, just that acknowledgement, calling on them, even if it's just general guardian angels, or if you know the specific ones, it's kind of like ask them to help you with the getting into a space of even connecting with them. Like I'm having a hard time even getting into, a connection or meditation or whatever you feel like you want to do. And so it's kind of like, please help me to get into that space.
uh-huh.
Support me, you know,
Yeah,
that sort of a
and they
thing.
do, and
Yeah.
they'll talk to you. Yeah, I had a dream this morning that told me that I needed to turn everything off and just get back here and meditate and tune in. And I did, and it was wonderful. And I got, a beautiful image that I haven't had that in
Yes.
weeks. But it's because I'm numbing and I'm just distracting myself, and I need to just
Right.
get more quiet and tune in. And I think that's something we can all relate to,
Yeah.
especially nowadays. So chaotic and so overwhelming out there. And speaking
Hmm.
to one of our latest episodes, when you're sensitive and you just tend to just go back in and just take
Yeah.
refuge in yourself and try and numb with other things and distractions, not to feel so overwhelmed. And I totally get that. It's scary out there, but we're doing
Mhm.
our best,
Yeah.
and I promise it can get a little bit better. It would just talk to our angels. It would take a moment to journal, to meditate. Music is a great way
Oh, yeah.
to Music is a great way to tune in, and it doesn't have to be a mantra or anything. No, anything that makes you happy and that
Hmm.
tunes you into that happy energy. It's just helpful for them to come through when you're in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%. I love that. And I would just add dancing too, like for you to like move energy. And when we move energy, so whether it's dancing or going for a walk or just like it feels like, or even just like stretching or yoga, just anything where you're kind of more in a movement. Where I
Hmm.
find for me personally too, if I do sit down with my coloring book, like I find just having something that I'm doing, it helps me to somehow not be so much in my head, and that's where things open up and it's more clear whatever's being received,
Yeah,
you
answers
know
come through.
but
So it doesn't have to be complicated. Anything that they channel.
she's putting me on the spot channeling.
You
No.
on the spot. Let them have a say. How do they want to be?
Well, the thing that I was also just wanted to say too, going back to what you're saying about dreams, I just feel like dreams, like paying
Yes,
attention to dreams is so important. I don't remember, did we talk about dreams in our other
we haven't.
communication? No, we didn't talk about that. Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know, for me personally, these last few weeks, maybe the last month or so, I've been having wild dreams, but also very like message dreams, like just like
Mhm.
things happening and they're having a specific
Yeah.
meaning behind it, but also almost like guidance or almost like a knowing of like what's coming or what is unfolding, or I don't know. It's just been really interesting for
Hmm.
me recently with my dreams of being like, oh, they're like
Yeah.
really active with me in my dreams, which wasn't always the case necessarily before.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my main channels of communication. And yeah, it's just if you can, I don't know where I heard this, but it's like if you can remember it, there's probably something in there that you should look at, right?
Yeah.
And we all know there's certain dreams that are just like that, there's nothing in there, or I hope there's nothing in there, and there's whatever messages and symbols and things, and it has never been easier. We were also having a conversation about this recently about AI and how you can start leveraging that tool for dream interpretation.
Yeah.
Again, human discernment, and of course it's advised here, and don't take it like as that's the answer, but it can save you a ton of time researching your
Yeah.
dream books and symbology and whatnot. Just wake up and just type it all, tell it your little story, and see what comes up, and maybe you'll find
Yeah.
some truths or things that will resonate with things that are happening in your life, and things that you need to look into a little bit more. So definitely that's a really important tool in our toolkit these days that we can use for dream interpretation. That's definitely one of the main ways they used to talk to us as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I love that. And yeah, I'm interested to hear from everyone who's listening in how their experience is with dreams. I mean, should we go do a deep dive on dreams and like have a whole podcast episode on
I
that? I
love
don't
it.
know.
Yes, I
Let us
have
know in the
so many
comments.
weird dreams I want to talk about.
Do a dream rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let us know in the comments what your experience has been like with communicating, prayer, just being in that connection with the angels, that like outward invitation, working with them kind of space. So let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, I think that's anything else that you want to share or tell our listeners before we wrap up?
No, I think that covered everything. Just the internal monologue thing. Just talk to them day
Yeah.
and night. You don't have to be alone in there in your mind with your own thoughts. Just let that be a fun dialogue with them. I promise things will start shifting.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, as always, to everyone listening in. If you enjoy the podcast, and make sure you are subscribed, make sure that you are following us on the podcast apps or on YouTube, and that you're sharing the podcast or the episode specifically with your friends, your family, your loved ones. And that's it for today. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.